story we have been following throughout the past 2 days surrounds the superstar herself, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA star, the Indiana Fever star, Caitlin Clark. She's going to miss all the action on the court.
Caitlin Clark's so-called Coronation Week in Indianapolis has turned into straight-up chaos for the WNBA. The city plastered a massive 34-story ad of Clark on the JW Marriott, expecting record-breaking crowds and stacks of revenue rolling in. Instead, empty seats, furious fans, and a full-blown boycott of the All-Star Game? Everyone's asking the same thing. How did the league manage to wreck their biggest star's hometown celebration and turn it into a financial disaster? And what bombshell did Kathy Engelbert finally drop about the officiating crisis during All-Star Weekend? This whole mess exposes exactly how the WNBA treats the players who actually put people in those seats. Comment below. Will this league ever learn to respect its stars?
Caitlin Clark gets hurt, and guess what? Your demand vanishes because people ain't going to pay up to see these athletes that are ungrateful that their sport's growing. People aren't paying up for that. And we are here, right here. The tickets for this game, for this All-Star Game, they've dropped by 50%.
Indianapolis went all in, prepping for what was supposed to be the biggest WNBA weekend ever. They built a full replica All-Star court right at the airport, local businesses loaded up on inventory and extra staff, and Gainbridge Fieldhouse sold out in just hours. Ticket prices exploded. Get-in starting at $121, average resale at $262, and premium spots going for thousands, the highest in All-Star history. Then July 17th hit like a gut punch. News broke of Clark's groin injury and social media went into meltdown mode. Ticket values tanked in real time. You could literally watch the market collapse by the hour. Those $262 average resale prices crashed to $64 within hours. That's a brutal 75% wipeout, and sellers were in panic mode, scrambling to dump tickets at heavy losses. The so-called Dream Weekend turned into a nightmare, fast. The get-in price free fell from $121 to just $65, and even at those basement-level prices, buyers weren't exactly storming in. This wasn't some slow burn over days. This was a full-on financial crash playing out live on social media for everyone to see. And here's what makes it even nastier. This wasn't new. We've seen this happen before when Clark sat out, but never on this kind of nuclear scale.
Fortunate that Caitlin Clark missed it. The crowd would have been exploding. The crowd would have been exploding. The arena would have been exploding. Oh man, a big miss as far as the W.
Back in May, when she missed regular season games with that quad strain, ticket prices tanked too, 47% down for the Washington game, and a jaw-dropping 71% collapse for the high-demand Chicago matchup. But those were regular season games. This was the All-Star Game, in her hometown, and the crash was absolutely unprecedented. Gainbridge Fieldhouse, normally a fortress of sellouts for almost 2 straight years of Fever basketball, was now staring down its first non-sellout of the entire season. For the biggest hoops weekend Indy had hosted since the NBA All-Star Game, the fallout was savage. Vendors who had dropped thousands on All-Star merch were watching their investment die on the shelves. Restaurants and hotels expecting record traffic were slammed with last-minute cancellations. And the whole downtown economy took a punch to the gut as reality sank in.
That is going through Caitlin shit. Yeah, just going through, I'm going to tell you, Leah Boston, let's break down her face right now. I am not happy with the Liberty mascot invaded our home turf right here. I mean, that mascot's cute. That mascot's cute. It is. She's having fun, but, you know, it's the Liberty mascot. So, of course, that is what everybody notices, right? After the meeting, the WWE style meeting in the back of the arena, right? As the heels are all meeting together, Breonna Stewart and Sabrina and Sandy Barndello, basically the Liberty, and of course the recruiting into the 4-horse.
And make no mistake, this wasn't just about one injured player missing one game. Fans were screaming loud and clear, who really drives the WNBA's hype? When other stars go down, ticket prices don't implode like this. The market basically shouted, "No, Clark, no point showing up." This ticket crash ripped the lid off a truth the league was desperate to hide. This record-breaking season was built almost entirely on one player's back. Take her out of the equation, and suddenly those attendance records and revenue milestones look pretty weak. And let's be real, Clark's groin injury didn't just magically appear. This was months in the making, thanks to the escalating cheap shots and physical play that refs flat out refused to call.
In sports for 60 years now. I know that no one's ever happy with officiating. All sports deal with it, but we're working hard to make sure we're putting the best product out on the court in our officiating.
Opponents figured out fast they could shove, grab, and body check Clark without any real consequences. And the referees, they just kept swallowing those whistles like nothing was happening. Stephanie White saw it coming from a mile away. The Fever coach has been calling out the officiating double standard all season long, saying straight up that defenders are allowed to bully Clark in ways other players never have to deal with. And she wasn't exaggerating. She was watching her franchise star get hacked, bumped, and slammed game after game while officials looked the other way. Even the Washington Post torched the league, dragging the WNBA for its second-rate officiating that was turning games into ugly street fights. They even joked the league should change its logo to a bruise and its motto to "No Call." That wasn't hyperbole. That was exactly what fans were seeing night after night. Want receipts? The footage is everywhere. Defenders hooking Clark's arms, shoving her off screens, hammering her on drives, all with zero whistles. It's on video, and fans are furious. The refs just stood there and let it happen. Straight up watched Clark get targeted like it was part of the game plan.
The vendors in the arena, the shops in the arena, they're not going to have the same amount of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was there. The surrounding restaurants, the surrounding areas, the surrounding attractions, they're not going to have the same number of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was held.
It created a culture where hammering the league's biggest star became an actual strategy. And here's what makes it even uglier. Other sports legends always got some kind of protection. The NBA shielded Jordan, LeBron, even Steph Curry when things got too physical. But Clark? She's out there taking hits like a practice dummy while officials act like they don't even know their own rule book. The numbers don't lie either. 57 head and neck injuries in just the past 2.5 seasons. Guards and small forwards, the exact players who thrive on speed and skill, are getting absolutely wrecked, according to the Washington Post. That's not normal wear and tear. That's a dangerous pattern the league is letting slide. Lisa Leslie knows exactly what Clark is up against. She battled her own brutal groin injury back in 2006 and said straight up those injuries can haunt players for months, even years. And that's the nightmare Clark's staring down now, not because of bad luck, but because refs refuse to do their jobs. This was no accident, no part of the game. It was the predictable outcome of a league that refuses to protect its biggest draw. Every uncalled grab, every ignored shove, every whistle that never came. It all built to this moment. And now the WNBA is paying the price. Millions lost, and their officiating crisis fully exposed. When your biggest star gets hurt because you refuse to protect her, don't act shocked when fans stop showing up. That's exactly what happened. Boycotts exploded, ticket sales crashed live in real time, and everyone waited to see how Kathy Engelbert would handle the biggest crisis of her entire run as WNBA commissioner.
Here, I noticed how much it was just Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was taking all the hits. Caitlin Clark was taking all the abuse. But this year they've added Sophie Cunningham. She gets more flagrant fouls on her than anybody in the league besides Caitlin Clark. And Aaliyah Boston, she's been taking hits as well. But the worst thing is the consistency. So they don't call flagrant fouls, or most of the time, Caitlin Clark could be held for an entire game at a time. They don't call fouls. They don't call common fouls. But then when it's the Indiana Fever, guess what? Touch foul here, touch foul here. They call after.
This was her moment to step up and show real leadership, to finally face the officiating disaster that wrecked Clark's season. Instead, She delivered the most sanitized, corporate, cookie-cutter response possible, and it only made fans angrier. Pressed about the officiating meltdown during All-Star Weekend, Engelbert dropped the ultimate executive non-answer. She bragged about calling a productive and constructive meeting with 40-plus players and league stakeholders, highlighting shared goals while completely dodging the actual problem. Fans didn't want to hear about productive meetings. They wanted accountability. They wanted refs called out for letting Clark get hacked, shoved, and hammered game after game without a whistle. Meanwhile, as ticket values nosedived and indie businesses stared down massive losses, Engelbert was busy talking about maintaining team profitability and constructive dialogue. The disconnect? Absolutely jaw-dropping. Fans were literally voting with their wallets, and she was acting like it was just another day at the office.
For the second time ever, the WNBA All-Star Game was supposed to feature an actual star. Normally, this celebration of pretend basketball features players that no one's ever heard of.
What fans wanted was simple: a direct acknowledgement that the officiating had been awful, and concrete changes to protect players like Clark. They wanted someone to admit the obvious. Letting opposing teams target your biggest star is bad for business. Instead, they got polished corporate jargon about shared goals and productive conversations. Engelbert's tone-deaf response proved league leadership is completely out of touch with its players and its fans. While Indianapolis businesses were bleeding money and fans were staging boycotts, Engelbert was busy defending the status quo. Her refusal to directly address the officiating crisis didn't calm things down. It threw gas on the fire and made the boycott even worse. The commissioner's weak leadership has fans openly questioning if the WNBA can actually change. When your biggest revenue driver gets injured because refs won't protect her, and your response is corporate jargon about productive dialogue, you've completely lost the plot. Fans saw straight through the empty promises, and they responded by shutting their wallets. The WNBA got exactly what it earned, and All-Star Game fans were calling an abomination to the sport of basketball. Without Clark, the league was pushing a product nobody wanted to buy, and the results were brutal. The game itself was a live reminder of what happens when you don't protect your stars. Empty seats scattered across Gainbridge Fieldhouse, zero energy in the building, and flat-out terrible basketball on the floor.
How did we get to an All-Star Game in Indiana where Caitlin Clark is not healthy enough to play? Well, it all started last year, in her rookie season, where she received 20% of all the flagrant fouls in the league. And most of them came from Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky. And these weren't basketball plays. They were not only fouling her, but they were getting up, laughing about it, laughing about Caitlin Clark getting assaulted. Any other work environment, people go to jail for.
This was supposed to be the league's showcase event of the year, but it felt more like an open practice scrimmage that no one cared about. And that 4-point shot gimmick, it made things worse. Instead of real competitive basketball, fans got what one insider called a glorified layup line, with players casually chucking from way behind the arc, while defense was completely non-existent. It was embarrassing to watch. Fans didn't hold back after watching that so-called All-Star Showcase. They torched it online, calling it the worst game in WNBA history and a joke of a product. Social media exploded with clips of wide-open shots, zero defense, and players laughing mid-possession like it was a charity event instead of the league's biggest stage. Even longtime WNBA supporters were furious, saying it felt like the league was mocking them for buying tickets in the first place. One viral post read, "We paid for a game, not a shoot-around circus." This was disrespectful to fans and the sport. Players felt it too. You could see it on their faces. Some barely celebrated after hitting those ridiculous 4-point attempts because they knew the crowd was dead and the energy was gone. What should have been a weekend celebrating women's basketball turned into a national embarrassment broadcast live. And here's the worst part. The league acted like nothing was wrong. No apology, no accountability, just more corporate talk about innovation and entertaining fans. Meanwhile, fans were canceling tickets for future games and demanding refunds for this one. This wasn't just one bad night. It was the kind of disaster that lingers for seasons. The WNBA turned a historic opportunity into a cautionary tale, and everyone watching knew it. By the next morning, the fallout was everywhere. National sports shows were clowning the WNBA, calling the All-Star Game a complete embarrassment.
I mean, there's a level of physicality that they're able to play with against her. You know, I knew it as an opponent, and I see it as her coach. And you know, I'm not exactly sure why, but it just is what it is. And we've got to help her learn to adjust and use it against them in certain ways. You know, we've got to find some ways to make it a little bit easier for her. But the level of physicality overall in our league has been at a different level than it's been for a long time.
And questioning if the league even understands its own audience. Headlines were brutal. No Clark, no energy, no point watching. Fans weren't just mad, they were organized. Hashtags like Protect Clark and Boycott WNBA trended for 48 straight hours, with thousands posting clips of uncalled fouls, empty seats, and that ridiculous four-point shot circus. Even neutral fans were asking, why would anyone pay for this when the league won't even protect its stars? Players noticed the backlash too. Some quietly liked posts calling out the officiating, while others flat out reposted criticism about how soft and embarrassing the game felt. That's how deep the anger ran, players themselves joining the conversation against their own league leadership. Kathy Engelbert's silence during this media storm only made things worse. While fans were demanding change, she was nowhere to be found. No press conference, no bold statement, just another bland league memo about commitment to player safety that convinced absolutely no one. The narrative had shifted. This wasn't just an all-star weekend gone wrong. It was now a full-blown debate about whether the WNBA could survive if it keeps alienating fans and failing to protect the very players who drive its success. Sponsors started paying attention, and not in a good way. Major partners who had spent big on all-star weekend activations suddenly went quiet, pulling social media ads and reviewing commitments as the backlash spread. One insider even leaked that two corporate sponsors called emergency meetings to discuss reputation risk tied to the league's officiating crisis and fan anger.
That injury, 2006, and listen, I was heavily taped around my thigh, around my glute, just trying to make sure there was enough pressure to hold that groin. And the hard part is that the groin is sort of an area that you can't just touch and go, it hurts right here. You feel it deep. You have to get a lot of deep treatment, whether it's ice and heat and rest. Well, Caitlin Clark, she can't find a lot of rest right now because she's mid-season. But I think that injury is really tough because it lingers. No matter how much medicine you take, you can feel fine. You get back out there, one move, one change of direction, and boom, you're right back feeling that same type of pain. So it's going to be a tough injury that she's going to have to manage.
How long did it take you to recover from?
To be honest, Tracy, I play tennis and I can still feel that injury linger because I don't know that it ever really goes away. You just learn to manage.
That's how bad this got. Money started getting nervous. And when sponsors get nervous, leagues panic. Players know it too. Several were overheard after the game saying things like, "This is going to cost us." And they had one job, protect Caitlin, and blew it. Media coverage piled on, with ESPN analysts straight up roasting the WNBA for ignoring its star power and fumbling its biggest stage. One segment went viral when a panelist said, "You don't let the player responsible for your record attendance get hacked all season without a whistle, and then act shocked when fans boycott. That's amateur hour." The WNBA's attempt to spin the weekend as innovative and fun fell completely flat. Instead, it became the league's most embarrassing PR nightmare in years. A showcase event that exposed leadership failure, poor officiating, and a disconnect with fans so big it's now threatening next season's momentum. Even some former players joined in, publicly saying the league needs a reset and that protecting your stars isn't optional. It's the foundation of pro sports. The message was clear. Fans and players are done being ignored. The WNBA now faces a choice. Keep pretending everything's fine while stars like Caitlin Clark take unnecessary hits, or admit failure, protect its players, and rebuild trust before it's too late. Because make no mistake, fans are done giving free passes. They already proved they'll boycott. They already proved they'll walk away. The question is, will Engelbert finally listen, or will the WNBA's future keep spiraling?
Stewart, she goes to the line 14 times. Asia Wilson goes to the line 13 times. And Aaliyah Boston can't play 20 minutes in a game without being on the bench in foul trouble. That's another problem that we're dealing with. But like I said, this year, it's not just Caitlin Clark. If you wear that Indiana Fever jersey, consider it done. The refs are not going to be fair, and they are going to cheat and do whatever it takes to do what the higher-ups say.
Let us know what you think down in the comments. Should Engelbert step down and bring in real leadership? Should the refs face accountability? Smash that like button, subscribe, share this video, and hit that notification bell so you never miss the truth about what's really going on in the WNBA. We'll see you in the next one. Nobody was competing, nobody was even trying, and the whole event turned into an unwatchable mess that completely alienated the real fans who tune in for actual basketball. You know what ended up stealing the spotlight? Not the game, not the players, but the New York Liberty's mascot, recruiting Caitlin Clark during All-Star Weekend. Let that sink in for a second. A team mascot making recruitment pitches generated more buzz than the All-Star Game itself. The Liberty's bold pursuit of Clark showed they understood something the league clearly doesn't: how to treat a superstar like the prized possession she is. Their move overshadowed everything happening on the court. This was the league's first true test without Clark, and it failed spectacularly. The difference was impossible to ignore. Regular season games with her bring real energy, excitement, and sell-out crowds. Without her,
all the way down to just $64 after news broke that Caitlin Clark won't be playing. These are people saying, I'm done. I don't want to watch. Caitlin Clark's not. I bought tickets solely to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star Game. I made accommodations solely to get to Indiana to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star Game. She is injured. I have no interest in that anymore. People are selling their tickets so much so they just want off of them. 121, okay. You want it for 100? Oh no, okay. I guess I gotta lower it to 80. Oh, you don't want to buy it for 80? Okay, I guess I'll lower it to 70. You don't want to buy it to 70? I guess I'll lower it to $64. The WNBA is paying attention to these trends, and they're seeing firsthand what Caitlin Clark is worth.
the All-Star Game exposed how fragile the league's popularity really is. It depends heavily on just one player to keep fans interested. And the implications? Massive. The Clark effect isn't just about dropping buckets or selling jerseys. It's about the entire future of women's basketball and whether the WNBA can keep its momentum alive. This All-Star debacle sent a brutal message. They can't do it without her. Fans voted with their wallets and made it crystal clear. The disconnect between what fans want and what the league delivers is real. Those empty seats, crashed ticket prices, and brutal online reviews weren't just about one injury. They were about a broken system. The WNBA hyped record viewership and unprecedented growth. But this weekend exposed the raw truth. Strip away Caitlin Clark's star power, and what's left? A product fans don't want to watch, don't want to pay for, and definitely don't want to support. This all-star disaster proved that unless the WNBA fixes the problems that led to her injury, they're at serious risk of losing the only audience that truly matters. The league had everything handed to them on a silver platter. A once-in-a-generation talent who brought record-breaking viewership, unprecedented fan excitement, and millions in new revenue. And what did they do? Turned it all into a cautionary tale about what happens when you refuse to protect your most valuable asset.
Mess around, and a large, massive group of fans are going to be like, enough is enough. We've never had to see anything like it in sports, but you don't see these other leagues going around talking crazy about their fan bases all the time like this league does. It's continuous. They're running their mouth about the people that are paying money to see them. You don't have other jobs where people walk up. You're in a public job that's in front of the...
Poor officiating, tone-deaf leadership, and a total disconnect from what fans actually want. It all came crashing down, live on the league's biggest stage. But this isn't the end of Caitlin Clark's story. This is fans standing up and demanding better from a league that has to change if it wants to survive. The question now, will the WNBA finally wake up and learn from this expensive lesson? Or will they keep repeating the same mistakes until there's nothing left to save? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Should the WNBA clean house and protect its stars? Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell so you never miss what's really happening in the game. Click the video on your screen, and we'll see you in the next one.